everybody, this is Brian. Welcome to Chiller Night Live, where from 8 p.m. Eastern Time until 9 o'clock, we'll talk about all things horror, science fiction, the paranormal, basically anything that is covered under the mantle of Chiller. Okay, anything under that theme. So, there's my baby Ava saying hello. Hello all. Looks like there's a space there for an emoji, and once again, third week in a row, I cannot see the emojis. Or I can see them, but it'll be like 30 seconds delay there for some reason. Don't know why that is, but all right. Tonight we will be talking about... Now, sometimes we just make up the topic as we go along, but tonight we have a pre-selected topic. This is one that the viewers chose from last week. Brian says, hello everyone. Hey Brian, thanks for joining us. The topic for tonight will be the Twilight Zone. Remember that at the very end of last week's episode, somebody had mentioned, I think it might have been Stephanie for some reason, I have that in mind, that one of you had mentioned the Twilight Zone about being this week's topic. And you'll have to remind me what the topic is for next week, because I honestly don't remember. But we'll get to that at the end of this episode. Dee says, good evening, everyone. Good evening, Dee. Thanks for joining us. Bonehead says, hello. Hey, Bonehead, thanks for joining us. And Patsy says, or Pat Savan 1 says, hola. Oh, hey, Patty, thanks for joining us. All right. So tonight, the Twilight Zone. Interesting show. We will be talking about that in just a few minutes. But for now, I want to remind everybody that Chiller Night Theater, hosted by Jack Shadow, the enigmatic skeletal host, ruler of the dark domain, Father Halloween himself, at least in his own dimension, hosts Chiller Night Theater every Saturday night. Where can you find this? Well, you can find it on the Chiller Night YouTube channel that has numerous episodes, but also Stream TV every Saturday night at 9 p.m. You can find that at streammedia.tv. Streammedia.tv. They've been playing it since we've all met, so every Saturday night, and also every Saturday at 11:58. Very close to midnight. Almost like a Saturday midnight show at 11:58 on New York 48, WWON TV. So I have put the link to Stream TV and to WON TV, New York 48, in the description. So if you want to check those out, and I really hope that you do, we want to thank both of those stations for playing Chiller Night Theater every Saturday night. What a perfect Saturday night chiller show it is. So hope you get a chance to check it out, or if you just miss Jack Shadow and want to see him again, for now anyways. John Wayne says, hey SBC, hello everyone, I just managed to get my internet running. I was offline for a whole week. Oh wow. Well, we almost were not running tonight because the power went out several times here in the dark domain. The storms were just pretty ferocious at times, so throughout the day, off and on, for real. So tornadoes not too far from us, so but we are here. But if the power should happen to go down, that would be the reason. I almost posted that we weren't going to do the show tonight because of that, but I thought I'll give it a little bit more time, and I think everything's calmed down. So all right. Da 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 da. Dee's writing the theme music out to the Twilight Zone. Bonus says, I actually heard that in my mind, Dee. Bonus says, I finally get to be part of the show. I wasn't able to be here for the last couple of weeks. I know, we missed you. Yeah, we definitely missed you. So we are glad that you're here now. All right, PBR is Street Gang is waving, so I will physically wave back to you, because now I can see your emojis, because I no doubt have left enough wiggle room of a delay in there. Jason says, good evening. Happy early birthday, Brian. Oh, good evening, Jason. And thank you for that. Yes. I have a few more hours left to go before I turn to tick up a bit. John says, welcome back, Bonehead. Missed you here. Yes. Bonehead says, where's Tom Paisley and Lasercorn? How about Miss Stephanie Press and Renee Cruz? Where's all the people I know? I know. They're all missing tonight. Well, it is, it's summer. Maybe they're out having some summer fun, summer activities. Something came up tonight. Or maybe it was like us. Maybe they were caught in a storm area, in the path of some bad weather. So, who knows? Who knows? So hopefully everyone's okay. And maybe they'll be back next week. Hopefully. Ah, John says, it's that time again when it's time to put reality on the back burner. I like that. And enjoy an hour of total enjoyment. It's time again for Chiller Night Live. This is Crozak the Grand. And now for your submitted and for your approval and enjoyment, here's your host, Bryan Hogue. All right, thank you, Crozak the Grand. And John. John says hi. Hey, John. All right. Always appreciate the stellar intros. Yes, we were going to talk about, where is it? Oh, boom! The Twilight Zone. The Twilight Zone, there it is. I don't know how many of you guys, when I was a kid, I used to watch that in the evenings. I mostly remember it like maybe like a Friday night show, like when my dad would get home from work. He worked second shift, and when he'd get home, we usually watch like the Twilight Zone. I remember watching the Twilight Zone and the Night Gallery. So I used to like that because Dad used to like to watch those spooky shows like that, and so did I. So PBR says, hope you have a great birthday tomorrow. Ah, thank you very much. I appreciate that very much. John Wayne says, glad that it worked out today despite the storms. I spent, 15, is that pounds? Well, would that be pounds in Germany? Or I don't know what the, was it marks or something? To buy online today. Well, you spent 15 something or other. So, and is that just for today, or to get back on for like a month? So hopefully, well, regardless, hopefully you're on air for a while. And Jason says, Rod Serling was epic. Wrote the screenplay for Planet of the Apes, and of course the Twilight Zone and the Night Gallery. Hey, we used to watch, did I say the Night Gallery? I know that we used to watch the Twilight Zone and the Night Gallery at night when my dad used to get home. So those were a lot of fun. I used to love that. Bonin says, oh, shucks. Well, thanks for that sentiment, Brian. I missed you guys as well. I got a message to pass along to Lasercorn from Miss Glamfangs whenever he gets here. Ah, all right. Very cool. PBR says, how about The Outer Limits? Ever watch that series? Believe it or not, I know it was one of those that I just never saw it. I never saw that one when I was growing up. And it's kind of like Dark Shadows. It's one of those shows that was very popular, had a huge following. Outer Limits, I hear of Dark Shadows and Outer Limits, quite a bit now. I mean, because of being a horror host and in the horror genre. But growing up, I didn't watch those. My shows growing up were like the Twilight Zone, the Night Gallery, the Night Stalker, Chiller Theater Saturday nights. I used to watch a show on Saturdays during the afternoon called Science Fiction Theater. I think Jason, that you were familiar with that as well. Trying to think of, is there anything else that I used to watch? I didn't watch Tales from the Crypt. That came along later. I was out of the house at that time. Left in the late 80s, 87, and I was overseas for a little bit, and for a long time when I was in the Air Force, I didn't even have TV. I didn't even have a TV for years. So I mean, I really didn't keep up on things. So. But yeah, Bonus says, yes, Brian, have a very happy and enjoyable birthday tomorrow. Thank you. Best birthday wishes to you also from Miss Glamfangs. Oh, tell her I said thank you very much. I appreciate that. Patty says, I have a question. Who thinks Billy Boy was the villain of Jesse Bell? He had his way with one girl and then married another because her father was rich and blamed Jess for everything that happened. What's this in? I'm not. I can't think of what's this in relation to. Billy Boy, was that a of Jesse Bell, of Jess Bell? Oh, Jess Bell. I'm not sure. I didn't see that. Whatever that is. Is that an episode or is that a movie? €15 for 10 gigabytes mobile data. Oh, okay. Right. I haven't been across the pond for quite some time, so I guess I'm not really up on the currency. In fact, I left. When I was over there, I did travel because you got your countries that are close, as close as our states are here, as far as like jumping over to Ohio or Virginia, West Virginia, and Kentucky and all that. That's like England, Germany, everything was so close. And yeah, I took advantage of that and got to see quite a bit of Europe, but some of that I don't remember off the top of my head what the currencies were. But it says, Brian, a European euro is equivalent to about to $1.09 in U.S. currency. Ah, okay, that's pretty similar. John says, I seen the original Twilight Zone and as well as One Step Beyond. One Step Beyond. Now, I'm not familiar with One Step Beyond. What is that, John? Is that a series? We watched, now today, Ava and I watched, because we knew we were doing this show, and I didn't do a lot of prep on this because there's a lot of information just on Wikipedia and trying to, pull from my memory. And plus I wanted to see what were some of your favorite episodes of The Twilight Zone, or maybe if it's not your favorite necessarily, something that stands out. We'll go over a few of those more notable, at least in my mind, some of the things that that kind of stood out. Loving that show when I was growing up. But we watched the very first season 1, episode 1 of The Twilight Zone today. So, what was the name of it? Where is everybody? Where's everybody at? Or something like that. It was interesting. It was interesting. A little slow. A little slow. Wasn't quite as enticing as I was hoping it would be. But it was a good. Rod Serling story with a little twist at the end, which he's so well known for doing, which, is brought up about, I think it's Jason mentioned, Jason, about Planet of the Apes, the screenplay for Planet of the Apes. Just that nice little twist at the end. I know Rod Serling didn't write that story, but just to have that imagery and stuff, I'm sure he had a lot to do with how that was presented at the end, because I couldn't tell you I never read the book of Planet of the Apes, or what it was based off of, and I don't know if that was the actual ending of the book. I don't know. Does anybody know? But regardless, yes, he was one of the writers for that, or wrote the screenplay. PBR says, so love Kolchak the Night Stalker. I loved watching that show. Oh, me too. John Wayne said, I had actually planned to watch an episode Twilight Zone every evening for a whole week, but that didn't happen because my internet was down. Luckily, I have a big stack of VHS, so I didn't get bored. Oh, that's good. Very good. Always have that plan B. Stephanie says, hey, y'all, sorry I'm late. I just got home from book club, and now I'm sitting here with dinner. Ah, well, thank you for joining us, Stephanie. I appreciate that. For some reason, I'm thinking it was you who had brought up about the Twilight Zone being tonight's topic, so we're going to talk about the Twilight Zone tonight. Very, very good show. It was only on for, I think, 5 seasons, but things were different back. Look at Star Trek. Star Trek was only on for 3 seasons. Sometimes things aren't as big at the time until they're going through syndication or something. I don't know. I don't know why that. I guess I have Wikipedia pulled up, so I'm not sure if that will give us any insight. I will be referring to that tonight as we're going along here in tonight's episode. Patty says, okay, Jezebel was a Twilight Zone episode about witches and a girl changing into a leopard. Okay, you got me there, Patty. I do not remember that one. Very, very cool. I don't remember that one. PBR says, used to visit Clark Air Force Base in the Philippines when I lived there. Oh, is that right? My brother had been stationed in the Philippines and also Japan. He had been stationed in Japan quite a bit. But I had never made my way over that way. Air Force Base. Okay. But it says, hey, hello, Miss Stephanie Press. How you doing? Hope you're enjoying a great dinner. Glad you made it. Yes, we are. Brian says, To Serve Man was a great episode. Ah, okay, cool. There are very few that I'll probably recognize by the name. Like, I think the one about time, the one with the very famous one with Burgess Meredith. I saw the name of that episode earlier today, and I was like, oh, of course, that was like one of the most famous episodes. So, but there are some good questions here, even looking it up on Google, that are fun things to know and to ask for tonight. John says, One Step Beyond was a series based on actual events, and I think it predates the Twilight Zone. Oh, is that right? Oh, that's cool. All right, let me get caught up here. Jason says, Burgess Meredith as the bank teller who loves to read, and the one where the earth is traveling to the sun are my two favorites, as well as To Serve Man. Oh, yeah. Okay, Jason says, Pierre Boel, I don't know if I'm saying that right, was the author of Planet of the Apes. Yeah, okay. That sounds familiar. I didn't remember his name. Bowden says, I've been going for a couple weeks. Does Renee Cruz, our emoji queen, still post on here? Yeah, she's been out for a few weeks as well, though. So hopefully we'll see Renee. I don't think she was here last week, or was she? Maybe she was here last week. Patty says 3 favorite episodes. Q, Obsolete Man. There was a Q/Obsolete Man. I don't know if that's all the name of the title. Jezebel and To Serve Man. To Serve Man, it's a cookbook, Jason says. Is that just a little twist at the end? To Serve Man, or How to Serve Man? Bonus says, oh, thanks, Miss Stephanie. That's so sweet of you. Hope your book club is going well. Yeah, that sounds neat. And if you don't mind me asking, have you watched any John Wayne movies lately? Yeah, I remember I think you said that you did. You did come around and see some John Wayne movies. I don't remember which ones, but that's cool. PBR says, I was stationed in Subic Bay, PI, Philippines, Yokosuka, Japan for a long time. Very cool. Bonus says, The Twilight Zone has so many great episodes, it'd be really hard to pick a favorite episode. Yeah, and Brian says, Twilight Zone To Serve Man was about the Martian cookbook. Yeah, that's kind of what I figured when it's a cookbook. I figured there was something there, a little bit more evolved than man, or bigger than man, had to come up with that. Martians, John Wayne says, many of the famous episodes have been made into Simpsons Halloween episodes. The Treehouse of Horror. I used to love those things. John says, fun fact, Mr. Sterling was a World War II veteran and a paratrooper in the 11th Airborne Division and took part in several combat jumps, including the jump to retake Corregidor in 1945. Wow! I hadn't realized that. That's really, wow, that's super impressive. That's very cool. It's a neat fact about Rod Serling that that I wasn't aware of, so cool. I learned a lot of stuff on this show from you guys. Stephanie says, I love one episode from the Twilight Zone was a dying man forces his greedy heirs to wear masks until he died. And you can tell the twist at the end goes to prove karma can be real pain in the butt. Oh, yeah? Right, right. I got that. As soon as I read that, the PI Philippines PBR bonus says, Miss Stephanie, I hope Bryan can do a Saturday night show and you get to meet Miss Glamfangs. Yins too would hit it off and it'd be hilarious. Yeah, maybe, you never know. Eye of the Beholder was good too. The main character gets plastic surgery to become ugly to fit in. Yeah, I remember that one. Let's just see. The way this is, I'm just reading from Wikipedia. This is not my credit here. The Twilight Zone is an American media franchise based on the anthology television series created by Rod Serling, in which characters find themselves dealing with often disturbing or unusual events. An experience described as entering the Twilight Zone. The episodes are in various genres, including fantasy, science fiction, absurdism, dystopian fiction, suspense, horror, supernatural drama, black comedy, and psychological thriller, frequently concluding with a macabre or unexpected twist, and usually with a moral. Morale. Okay, moral. Yeah. A popular and critical success, it introduced many Americans to common science fiction and fantasy tropes. The first series, shot entirely in black and white, ran on CBS for 5 seasons from 1959 to 1964. The Twilight Zone, okay, now here's something. Followed in the tradition of earlier television shows such as Tales of Tomorrow and science fiction theater. This is a different science fiction theater than the one I had mentioned, by the way. It was a local show from Pittsburgh, the one I'm referring to. Radio programs such as The Weird Circle and Dimension X and X-1 and the radio work of Serling's inspirations, Norman Corwin. The success of the series led to a feature film, 1983, a TV film in 1994, a radio series, 2002 to 2012. That, I'm just seeing that for the first time. I wasn't aware of that. Various literature, theme park attractions, and various other spin-offs that span 5 decades, including 3 revival television series. The second series from 85 to 89. See, I didn't watch that one. Ran on CBS and in syndication in the 1980s, while the third series ran on UPN from 2002 to 2003. The fourth Twilight Zone series, helmed by Jordan Peele, was released on CBS All Access from 2019 to 2020. I do remember seeing the commercials, the trailers for that one, but I've never seen it. TV Guide ranked the original TV series number 5 in their 2013 list of the 60 greatest shows of all time, and number 4 in their list of 60 greatest dramas. Okay, blah blah blah. But that's pretty cool. Pretty cool. There was some stuff I was looking up earlier. I'll get back to the. Let me see what kind of comments we're seeing. I'm the Beholder too. Okay, that's where we messed with it. Yes, Mass, that was a great one. I liked the Howling Man a lot. Bonnet says. John Wayne says, where is our Manus fan number 1 today? I don't know. I haven't seen Paul. So hopefully he watches this later and knows that he's been thought about tonight. Now here are some things like just looking in here. This says like, what is the scariest episode of the Twilight Zone? And then they'll say The Invaders. Nightmare. There's actually 5 of them listed here. What are the, oh, there's the top 5 according to this Google search on Wikipedia. The Invaders, Nightmare at 20,000 feet. I believe that's the one William Shatner's on, that he sees the creature out in the wing. The Masks, that was just mentioned here. Button, and Blurry Man. All right. What is considered the best Twilight Zone episodes? Okay, now there are 6 of them listed here, and some of them have been mentioned already from you guys. Eye of the Beholder, Nightmare at 20,000 feet. Okay, that was one of the last ones. To Serve Man, The Monsters Are Due on Maple Street. That one I'm not familiar with. Time Enough at Last, and Living Doll. All right, Time Enough at Last. We all know that one. That's like one of the most popular one. Very cool. All right. Another favorite was a very talkative guy in a social club agrees to keep silent for a whole year. The guy who makes the bet has no money, and the talkative guy has his vocal cords surgically removed. Oh, what? Oh, man. You know, these are just, you know, the EC Comics, for example, you know, the Tales from the Crypt. Those are all with that I guess the karma is going to get you, the comeuppance, you know. That's kind of what, you know, some of those ones that I remember, the Twilight Zone, that's kind of their thing, you know, their comeuppance. The karma catches up to them. Not always the case, but, you know, it does seem to be a reoccurring theme in some of these shows or pulp magazines of comics of yesteryear. Creepshow, even Creepshow was a homage to Tales from the Crypt. But yeah, and where the horror, whatever the horror was in the episode, in that story, actually turns out to be, really, if you think about it, the one who implements the justice in some way, you know. So I don't know. Kind of like Jason Voorhees in a way. If that type of thing was exemplified in physical form, it would be kind of like Jason, I'd have to say. Boy, you get some teenagers out in the woods and they're smoking that weed. They're on the marijuana and they're saying bad words and cussing and playing loud music. Oh, by golly. And don't even get me started on doing things they ought not to be doing. Not in Jason's woods. All right, so John Wayne says, how many versions of it were there actually? Well, it said there that there were four series. 4 times that it was made into the series. The first series is the only one that I can honestly tell you that I'm familiar with. I remember that there was an original one and then some from the 80s. I remember those coming out, but I didn't watch them. I just remember the first one. Bunny says, yeah, I remember that one, Jason. Like I said, there were so many great ones. I'm here listening to others, and they're all naming these classic episodes. I remember one that stands out in my mind that I don't remember the name of it, but I thought it was interesting. It was the one where the old lady, I believe it was an old lady, who was afraid to go out of her house because she was afraid, or to let anybody in, because she was afraid of death. She was just constantly afraid of death. And finally, there was a guy who is asking to step in. You know, he's a very pleasant man, and he's asking if he can come in. And I'm trying to remember this from a child's point of view. Like when seriously, that's when I saw it when I was a kid. So I'm not probably doing very well, you know, relaying the events of this episode to you. But turns out. Can we say spoilers? I mean, yeah, it's been around for a while. But it turns out that the man was actually deaf. And she was very comforting and peaceful experience for her, and she did leave with him at the end. So that was kind of cool. I remember watching that when I was a kid. Like, huh, that was kind of neat because it didn't portray death in any way like some monstrous, caricature, thing, skull or anything like that. It was actually very pleasant experience for her. It was nature. Something that was this part of that natural cycle, I guess, for her. But it was kind of cool. John Wayne says we should do the X-Files one day. We could do the X-Files. Yeah, that was a good one. Don't forget the creepy one with Brilliant Mummy as the monster. Which is the one? Is that the one where he would wish the people into the cornfield if they didn't, if they made them mad? And I'm sorry if I'm skipping some of these. It's only so I can keep up because I try to avoid that delay to keep our conversations relevant, or what I'm saying relevant to what you're looking at now and hearing. Bonuses. It just goes to show every episode named here tonight is a classic. Serling created a masterpiece of a show. Yeah, very much so. Stephanie says, out of curiosity, is there an episode about somewhere in Cincinnati, Ohio? That's a good question. I couldn't tell you that one. When I say that I was a big fan of the show, and I was, but I was so little when I used to watch this. It's like a lot of things that I have more of a nostalgic feeling more than actual concrete hard memories. I just know that I loved it, and I know. And in fact, I was thinking today. I was trying to think of one of the episodes that really stood out to me, and I started remembering it. And it turns out I looked it up, and it wasn't even a Twilight Zone. It was a Night Gallery, when it was about the kid who predicted earthquakes. Is that it? Clint Howard played the little kid. I didn't know that until I looked it up. But I remember watching that one because I remember that was so disturbing to me as a kid watching that one. It wasn't, it was Night Gallery, which is, it's kind of the brother show of the sibling show of the Twilight Zone, and my, Rod Serling. But do you guys remember that one? That one I really, really enjoyed. But it wasn't even a Twilight Zone episode. Patty says, was it the stranger? And it was a cop who was injured, asked to be let in. Is that it? Okay. Yeah, again, I don't remember the particulars. I know that he was presented as a good guy, though a cop being injured. Okay, well, that's a pretty good reason to open your door and let the guy in. So I knew there had to be a very compelling reason why she was going against what she was so afraid to do. Jason says, I love the episode where a mute old woman whose house is being invaded by many small men who turn out to be U.S. astronauts. I don't remember that one. Is that right? Robert Redford played Death, Brian says. Is that right? So you know which one, you guys, Patty, Brian, you guys know which one I'm talking about. Interesting. Patty says, tiny U.S. astronauts is the invaders. What a neat idea. Those just, they do remind you that they got that pulp magazine feel, of the craze of the 50s and all that. The science fiction craziness that was going on at the time. But it says, Miss Stephanie, I know Rod Serling lived in Cincinnati and started his writing career there. Is that right? I didn't know that. That's pretty cool. But I don't know if he ever did an episode based there. Bonuses, I bought the Twilight Zone and Night Gallery complete series sets on DVD. It's one of the best purchases I've ever had. Wow. Very cool. Patty says, Night Gallery was Rod Serling too. Yes, I remember that one. And I used to like it. Tom says, belated greetings, fellow creeps. Hey, Tom, there he is. We're talking about the Twilight Zone tonight, and we are going over a lot of our, I don't know, not necessarily even favorite episodes, maybe favorite, or just ones that stand out, that are worth mentioning. And this has been a fun episode so far. And I was thinking we're maybe 20 minutes into it, and it's 8:36, so the hour is just flying by. This is such a neat topic. In fact, Tom's here, and I was about to mention this. We're talking about Rod Serling, of course, and when I sent the zombie outbreak ad to Tom, he did the voice, the AI voice for it. He did something there to generate that. So I'm going to play that right now. Tell me if you don't think that this sounds like Rod Serling. Now, somebody had said Tony Todd. I can hear that, but I didn't at the time. But when you say that, one of you had mentioned that a couple weeks ago. But I don't know. What do you think? This is what I think. I think Rod Serling, but we'll see.
Chiller Night Escape Experience presents Zombie Outbreak Escape Room. You and your team of scientists are sent to inspect a top-secret laboratory in a hidden military bunker. Sinister experiments have resulted in reanimating the dead. The facility is now swarming with the living dead, and you have 1 hour to escape or be overrun by zombies. Can you survive a zombie outbreak? Book your escape room appointment to find out. Book online at chillernight.com or call 814-209-8214. Gift certificates available at the store counter.
What do you think? I mean, is it perfect? No, but I can hear a Rod Serling likeness to the voice. Tom says Rod Serling wrote screenplay for Planet of the Apes 2. Yeah, we were talking about that earlier, and that's so. Planet of the Apes would have made a good Twilight Zone episode. It just has that ironic twist at the end. Like this. I can only imagine that M. Night Shyamalan was inspired by Rod Serling. He likes to have those, like those endings. Like what? They're just fun to watch. They're just a lot of fun. Stephanie says, I've just asked because I was watching Saturday the 14th, and I heard Rod Serling's voice, and I heard him mention Cincinnati. Again, I couldn't tell you, but maybe someone is a lot more knowledgeable on that than me. Tom said, or Bonehead says, they said Twilight Zone was groundbreaking, and the way everyone on here has named a favorite episode just shows what a classic show it truly was. Yeah, you're right. But even if you're like me and I don't remember the name of the episodes, because again, a lot of these things I'm kind of shooting at the hip from my memory. It's more nostalgia than it is exact. Like Universal Monsters, a little bit more focused on that. I know quite a bit more about that, but Twilight Zone's more the feelings and memories of watching that at night when my dad would get home from work on like Friday night. We'd watch that. We'd watch the Night Gallery, stuff like that sticks with me. Whether I can tell you specifically what was going on in those episodes or the name of the episodes or something like that. It was just more of a fun thing that I loved growing up and just has a special place with me. Patty says, when are we going to see an ad for the Witch Escape Room? I started filming something, Patty, and I thought about, like, when am I going to have time to put something together? I am putting something together, though. It's actually kind of, I'm going to do one that kind of encompasses the entire store now that I've got the shameless plug. Well, this is what this show's kind of for right now. For Chiller Night. That's the name of the store now. Yes, Chiller Night, which has Jack Shadow's House of Terror, which is going to be opening up now in, about 60 days? Less than 60 days, I think. The Witching Hour Escape Room. Zombie Outbreak Escape Room. Both are 1 hour escape rooms. If you have any interest, if you live in the area, give me a call at 814-209-8214, or at least that's the business number, and you can book one of these really nifty, creepy scary escape rooms, 1-hour escape rooms. Or you can go to chillernight.com and book online. And don't forget, this coming October, oh bam, look at that, Jack Shadow's House of Terror, haunted house every Friday and Saturday night at the, where are you at? Chiller Night store at the Cranberry Mall in Venango County, Pennsylvania. I once again stress Venango County because I had I had a booking the other night and they went to the mall, the wrong mall in the wrong county. I went to the one down by Pittsburgh, closer to Pittsburgh, in Butler County, which is, I'm in Butler County. And the Cranberry Mall that I'm in, my store, there's Butler County, there's Venango County. Two counties right there beside each other. And we have two malls, the Cranberry Mall, and both. Yes, I understand that's confusing. And I try my best to relay that as well as I can to folks. You know, it is Venango County. It is Venango County. So, yeah. I had an appointment at 6 o'clock down there. And I got a call. He says, hey, you know, where are you located at? I said, well, let me ask you this. Let's start off with, what county are you in? Well, I'm in Butler. All right, well, you're in the wrong county, so you'd be in the wrong mall. So, unfortunately, so, yes. Let's see. That was to answer Patty's question, but it also was time for me to shovel a little bit of Chiller Night your way. It's kind of what I do also on the side, so. But it says SBC, you can get the complete series of Twilight, the Twilight Zone and Night Gallery for $50. It's worth it. What? Really? For 50, all of those for 50 or 50 for each of those? Still, I mean, it's a good price either way. If you're fans of those shows, which I can tell a lot of you are, including myself, Patty says Twilight Zone also added a phrase to the English-American language lexicon. Also added a phrase? See if I can see any of that. Sometimes they give you little facts here. Radio, scripts, stage production. All right, I won't go down too far. I will. Culture. All right. Oh, popular culture. Many Treehouse of Horror episodes, as John had said earlier, of The Simpsons also reference the show The Twilight Zone. So that's cool. Yep, that was brought up a little earlier. The X-Files. Somebody had brought up about doing the X-Files. The character Robert Matheson is named after one of the original series writers. Interesting, I wouldn't have known that. In Mad Men, Paul Kinsey quotes Rod Serling's "Submitted for Your Approval" opening and foreshadows the original show's cancellation, Season 1, Episode 2, saying Mitch and Media says CBS might pull the plug. Okay, something in a reference to the Mad Men series. There's some more on here, but it's kind of neat to read those. I won't take away from the show to do that necessarily here tonight, but pretty cool. Yeah, they had we had gone over this earlier, 4 series. One was the first was from 1959 to 1964, which I'm sure most of us are familiar with that one. That's the one I'm aware of. Second series was from 1985 to 1989. The third series was from 2002 to 2003. And the fourth one and final one so far It was 2019 to 2020. So, and then of course they had the movie, which came out in June of 1983, and Rod Serling's Lost Classics TV film in 1994. So pretty cool. And I think that's all that they have on Wikipedia when it comes to that. Okay, John Wayne says, I'll see if I can get them used from eBay. SVC says, referring to the $50 for the series. Stephanie says, on Sci-Fi, every New Year's there's a Twilight Zone marathon all day and night. Oh, that sounds cool. Bonus says, well, Serling was part of the greatest generation. Yeah, and he proved it in other ways as well. He was a veteran and a trailblazer in the entertainment television field. Yeah, yeah. The greatest generation indeed. Yeah, tough guy. Wow, I hadn't realized his credentials there in the military. That is very impressive. Then it says SBC. That's exactly where I got mine from. Doggone, we're thinking alike. And that's scary, ain't it? Here comes the Twilight Zone music. Yes. Bonus says, Miss Stephanie Press. I was in the hospital in 2020 when COVID hit. I was getting an appendicitis operation, and I tried to watch every one. Didn't have anything else to do in the hospital. Oh, wow. And then bonus is $50 for both. Brian, complete series. Really? That's a very good price. The Twilight Zone and the Night Gallery. Awesome. Stephanie says, oh my gosh, Bones, that must have been scary. Conan says, that would be Richard Matheson, who also wrote Duel, one of my favorite movies. John Wayne says, I have the 80s movie on VHS. Very cool. Yeah. Yeah, it was just such a neat show, and I'm sure it seems just by the comments tonight how influential it was on us. Anyone watching this type of program with this chiller or sci-fi and horror type of, not necessarily, they weren't really horror necessarily, but there was definitely that sci-fi fantasy element to it. But you can tell we have a lot of fans here on this program who watch the Twilight Zone. Again, I was saying, and I don't think Tom was here yet, but I was saying I was trying to think of, and of course we know Rod Serling did the Night Gallery too. But I was trying to just dig from my memory one episode that really stood out, and I was oh, what about that little kid who predicted like could predict like the future? And I actually looked it up, and he was predicting earthquakes and catastrophic events, I believe, and then one of his predictions is after tomorrow, a paradigm will shift for humanity. There will be no more wars, no more hunger, no more sickness, and everyone was just ecstatic with that information. And it turns out, I remember watching this, because the kid says, basically after he doesn't tell the world this because he's televised telling this, and then he says, yeah, actually, I think he's just telling one person, whether that's his dad or I don't remember, but he says, yeah, after tomorrow the sun's going to go nova, it's going to blow up. So that was like, probably did a lot of good by not leaking that information out and panic the world. Jason says Vic Morrow's death was tragic in the making of the Twilight Zone movie. Yeah, that was a real chopper of an end. Yeah, he used to be. I've seen him on different things with But what a way to go, too. Oh, my gosh. But I remember seeing him, I believe I saw him on an episode of The Rifleman. He played a pretty good character in that. But yeah, can you imagine that? That's just it's an awful way to go. Sorry, just talking to a customer. He says, this is Patty, says, what? Sorry, just talking to a customer, and he says, Eye of the Beholder is his favorite, and seems to be discussing things going on in our country today. Is that right? That's cool. Oh, you're there talking to the customers about that. That's neat. We'll get them on. John Wayne says, another series that comes to mind is the original Monsters with Herman Munster. Oh, the Munsters with Herman Munster. Yeah, that was a fun one. I'll have to dig up the picture of Jack's shadow there in 2019 at the Midnight Monster Party in Pittsburgh, where Jack was invited to go down and help open that event up. But I was actually posing in front of that car, or next to that car, the Dragula. Remember that? The little drag car that they had? This was the actual one from the series, so that was kind of cool. Made me think of it when you mentioned it. John says, 2 episodes from the Zone series stands out for me, or as of late I think of Cliffordville, which starred Julie Newmar as Miss Devlin, who was also the devil. Oh, I can see that. And one known as 2 because it starred Elizabeth Montgomery and Charles Bronson as survivors of World War III. I vaguely remember seeing that one. I think there's something that sounds familiar about that one, other than just the of course the names. But yeah, that sounds real familiar. Does Patty says, does anyone remember the loss? Was it supposed to be the last pallbearer? I think that there's the one with people walking past a cabin at the end of the Civil War. I don't remember that. I do not. Let's see. Bonus says, I also got the complete series of that on eBay for $20. With the Munsters? Cool. Bonus says, I don't see where people say you pay too much for stuff on eBay. If you look, you really get some bargains. Oh, yeah, definitely. Stephanie says, I have the movie Munsters Go Home. Yeah, maybe we can do Munsters one of these weeks. 8:53. I gotta say, this tonight's show went very, very quick, and it's funny because like I'm sure you know the reason I'm not really getting a lot of information out on my end about these topics is I just simply don't have time. But it is fun because I can at least pull up Wikipedia. I can go from a little bit from my memory, and we can make a show out of it because you guys have been supplying all kinds of really cool information about just behind the scenes stuff and about the episodes. And we don't obviously we don't have to just stick to the topic, that's being discussed. But which Twilight Zone episode was banned for 52 years? One called The Encounter is episode 151 of the American television series The Twilight Zone, first broadcast on May 1st, 1964. Its racial overtones caused it to be withheld from syndication in the U.S. until 2016. It is the only original episode pulled from syndication. Wow! I didn't even know that they had pulled an episode for 52 years. Wow. Until 2016. Really, the world wasn't ready for that until 2016. All right. What's the saddest episode of the Twilight Zone? One called The Long Morrow. Huh. I won't get into it too much. I'm looking for quick little tidbits of information I can give you guys. Why did Twilight Zone end? Okay, let's wondered about that at the beginning of this show. Now we'll get the answer here. Why did Twilight Zone end? The original run of the Twilight Zone got canceled twice, despite never missing a year on the air. Rod Serling found success after the Twilight Zone with Night Gallery. Okay, well, many of us watch that. And Planet of the Apes. The series finally got canceled for good after season 5 due to declining ratings and budget cuts. All right, well, there's the answer. There's the answer. We got our answer. Want to see something really scary, John Wayne says? Is that from, what's that from? Is that from, what is that? Creepshow? Is that from Creepshow? Was that the one where the ambulance drivers are, is it Dan Aykroyd? Was Dan Aykroyd one of the drivers? I don't know. That's why I'm something's pulling in my imagination or my memory from that. John says, or was that Twilight Zone? John says, once again submitted for your consideration. Ha! You have been in a zone all its own. You have been watching Chiller Night live with Bryan Hogue. This is Crozak the Grand reminding you that there's only 86 days left until Halloween and Jack's special night. Yes. Until next week, stay chilled and keep thrilled. Thank you, Crozak the Grand and John. Tom says you were on the Kennedy bone? Cool. Kennedy. Oh. Bonus says, Brian, that's God's way of telling you that maybe you could do a 2-hour show. You might like it and want to do more 2-hour shows, maybe. Yeah, maybe. Maybe so. Maybe so. It would be very easy to do a 2-hour show with this group. Absolutely. Because there's just so much. You know, I'm you know, kind of steering things, but you guys are throwing so much my way and at each other. It is so it's interesting, and it makes it go so quick. So yeah, a 2-hour would be. I think that'd be fun. Jason says another amazing show, Brian. Thank you very much for doing this. Oh, thank you, Jason. I appreciate that. Tom, the original CV-67, the new carrier is the CVN-79, I believe. Oh, okay. The Kennedy. Stephanie says, oh, Bones, I've watched Chisholm with my mom for movie night. The John Wayne movie. Okay. Awesome. Take care, y'all. Stephanie says, all right, Stephanie, thanks for joining us. Bonus says, there you go, Miss Stephanie. Please watch some more of his, and thanks for being so nice to me. Tom says, been on 5 carriers in my life. None of them the JFK. Wish I had. That's pretty neat, 5 carriers. John Wayne says, something strange happened. The hour is already over. I know that happens. That happens weekly, in fact. See you all next week. Same time, same dimension. Yeah, maybe Paul will be with us next week. Who knows? And Renee, and yes. Lasercorn. Tom, it was a great boat. Oops, I meant ship. The Navy always got mad at Marines for calling ship boats. Yeah, get your terminology right there. Yeah, that's funny. Tom says, okay, creeps, see you next week. All right, good episode as we discussed the Twilight Zone. That was a lot of fun walking down memory lane for all of us, actually. I think we had a great time. So, appreciate you guys. Thank you for joining me and each other. So have a good night. Have a good chiller night, and we'll see you next week.